What's going on, everybody? This is EJ. Welcome to another episode of Everybody Eats, the podcast for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur, where we talk about the tips, the trials, and the technology of the entrepreneur journey. So, welcome to the first video of this podcast. So I'm going to do this every once in a while, especially when the podcast has something to do with a tip for technology that would be easier explained if you saw it, if that makes sense. So I'm actually in upstairs my room of my house. This is actually my son's playroom, and excuse the mess. We're getting it packed up to move, but this was just where my stuff was, so this is where I'm recording. So today we are going to do a little bit of a camera tips episode because that is what was voted for. You can follow us on Instagram at Everybody Eats Pod, and sometimes there will be polls up there, sometimes there'll be other questions, there'll be a chance for Q&As up there, things like that. So this week the question was, did you want a camera tips episode or did you want a lighting tips episode? They were both going to happen, but I was seeing which one you wanted first. And vast majority, well, no, that's a lie. So what happened was, it was 50-50. It literally was 50-50. And so what I did is I took whoever voted first, what they voted for is what I would do first. And so that person voted for camera tips. So that is what we're going to do today. So I have my handy dandy trusty Canon 80D. This is a DSLR camera, and it is a great camera, and we're going to use this to talk about some camera tips. If you would like more, there will be a link either in the description box of the video or in the show notes of the podcast, depending on where you're watching and or listening. And I have a full class on beginner tips for DSLR cameras. I'm going to pull from that and only talk about a couple things because, again, I don't like my podcast to be more, I like to aim around the 20-25 minutes length because that's a good length in my opinion. And so the whole class, which is a lot more details, the link to that will be in the description box, so make sure you take a look at that. So let's get into it. Crap. Hey, Bubby. In my room on the floor by my dresser, you know those batteries? Yeah. Can you bring me 2 of the short ones, please? Quick. I didn't realize this was on. Okay, so perfect example. First tip is make sure that your batteries are charged. I used this camera and I left it on, and I did not realize that. Luckily, I have settings on my camera where it can go to sleep, so it did go to sleep, but it did drain the battery. So I guess my first tip is to make sure that you turn your camera off and you charge your batteries. Did you grab them? Thank you so much. Do you want to make a cameo in the video? You want to make a cameo in the video? Come on. All right, this is my son Aaron who brought me my camera batteries. So tip 2 is always have somebody to help you. Well, not always. There are going to be some situations where you don't have anybody to help you, but having somebody who can help you makes it much better. All right, thank you. Go ahead. Don't kick it. Okay, the next tip, and this one, it might seem a little bit like, well, duh, but the next tip is to have plenty of batteries on hand. So right now, this is the dead one. I'm about to put it down so I don't get it mixed up. These are two of the charged ones. For this camera, I want to say I have 6. I have 6 of these. So it is important because, especially if you are looking to do this professionally, it's always important to have enough batteries. These DSLR cameras take a lot of power, and so if you're using them long term, you're going to run through batteries pretty quickly. Now this camera does pretty well with batteries. I have used this camera on a 12-hour shoot. I was filming a festival, and this camera did pretty well. I want to say I went through 3 batteries, I want to say. I wasn't using this one consistently. I was using one of my other cameras consistently, but still 12 hours, 3 batteries, that's still pretty good. The camera I'm filming on now is a Sony a7S, and right now I only have 3 batteries for that one because this is a fairly new camera. What I did realize is that this camera runs batteries quicker because the camera I'm filming on right now, it's not on the 4K settings, but it does have 4K. This one does not have 4K, it's just standard 1080p, which is still really good. This camera is still really, really good, but of course 4K is more money. So you just have to realize the more functions you have on your camera, the more it's going to drain your battery, and the faster it's going to drain your battery. So I am planning on getting a couple more because I'm using this camera for a wedding I have a couple weeks, and so I'm gonna get, my plan is to get 2 more. Get 2 more batteries, so I'll have 5 for that camera. So that's another tip. If you're gonna use a lot of the settings, if you have a higher level camera and you're planning on using it a lot, get batteries, just trust me. All right, my next tip is to, as you're looking to buy batteries, especially if you're going into the DSLR realm, is that some of the batteries are not the cheapest. And so my next tip is to go on Amazon and find a higher or highest, depending on what your budget is, rated battery that is a replacement for the actual battery, and it still can work. So for instance, this is an LPE6N battery for my Canon 80D. Sorry, the glare is focusing. Hopefully that's focused. This is a actual branded battery. I'm not sure if it focused or not, but it does say Canon on there. There we go. It does say Canon up there over here. And if you're just listening, I just showed on the video. This is a replacement battery that I got on Amazon, and it is the same type of battery, but it costs about half as much as this battery. So it does take a little bit of research to figure it out, but usually the model number is on here, and on this one, it is in like a rectangle. Let's see if it'll focus. It is in a rectangle right here, right above my finger. And so what you can do is you can either search the model number, or you can say batteries for instance, Canon 80D, and usually it'll bring it up. My only caution is that you make sure you read the description and then also read the reviews. There are some batteries out there that are like the no-name brand that may not work with your camera. Those are out there. Just be cautious, but I found some pretty good replacement ones that are literally half the price of the branded ones. And so that is my next tip for your camera. You can always go on Amazon and find ones that are the same, will still work, but half the price. So be able to get 2 of these for 1 of these. And then again, you build up your battery stash. Okay, my next camera tip is to start when you first get your camera, if you are a beginner, to start with the auto mode, which is right here. Hopefully that's in focus. DSLR cameras have a lot of options. They are so much bigger of a step up than just a point and shoot camera, which is literally what it says. You can get point and shoot cameras from Walmart, Target, wherever. If you go to their electronics section and you will see the display of cameras, usually those are point and shoots. It literally is, you point at what you want to take a picture of, you click the button. There are not very many options for those. There are so many options for these. So my first tip is to start with the auto. If you're just getting started, they are a whole lot heavier than point and shoot cameras. The configuration is different. As you can see, this is a pretty wide camera. So this, let me move the strap. This is the lens right here. But even if you take away the lens, you still have pretty wide. Most point and shoot cameras are probably about half or even like a quarter of the thinness of a DSLR. So this has a lot more weight to it. You're gonna get a whole lot of bicep work. So if this is your really new, I would start with the auto because it's a lot to get a hold of. It's a lot to get used to. So usually you're gonna have a dial like that looks like this of some kind, and there is an auto on this one. Let's do it not upside down. On this one, it's green and A. It's different on every camera, so you just have to make sure that you're on the auto setting. When you are on the auto setting, it only lets you have access to certain options in there. So for instance, I have it on auto right now. So I have those options. Let's see, how many? 3. Okay. I have 3 windows of options. Sorry, I'm doing this backward. I have 3 windows of options. You see, it has 1, 2, 3. So that is letting me have, oh, I pressed something. Okay. I only have 3. There we go. So I only have 3 windows of options, and that's just plain. But as far as the camera goes, I know. As far as the camera settings go, and I tell because I'm looking up here. You see how there's a camera? That's the camera settings. If you were to change it to a different type of setting, different options will come up. But again, if you're just learning, I would do this. Next tip I have for you is to keep the manual with you at all times. I do not have my big camera bag, but you're going to talk about camera bags in a second. I do not have camera bags with me. My camera bag with me right now, it is actually downstairs. But even though I've had this camera for a while, I still keep the manual in one of the pockets. You just never know what you need to figure out, or let's say you just have a brain fart and you forget, and that's okay, it happens. It's always better to have the manual because a lot of the settings in the camera, especially when you start going to other options like manual or a lot of the other options, I'm not going to confuse you. A lot of the options are reliant on other options. So if you mess up one option, you might mess up 4 other options. And not like mess up, but it will affect other options. So if you choose one option to be on instead of off, if that's on, there may be 2 other options who have to be off because they can't run the same time that the one you chose to be on is on. If that makes sense. That's how it usually works. So something you're like, I don't know what it's doing. I don't know. It's probably something. So it's always better to have the manual with you. Just keep it. Trust me, I don't read manuals when I buy furniture, when I buy bookcases, when I buy toys for my kid. I'm not a manual reader. I'm just not. But when it comes to my cameras, I do. Like even when I have my tripods or my lights, I don't read manuals either, but I will read my manual for my cameras because these are one of the biggest investments you'll make as far as camera gear goes, and you don't want to break it. So just keep it with you. Okay, my next tip is to get an HD card that has a lot of storage. So right now, this is the HD card that I have. There we go. This is the HD card that I have in this camera right now. It's 64 gigs. There are a lot of different size cards out there. There's small ones, there's 16, there's 32, there's 64, there's 128, and then it keeps going up and up and up. The size SD card that you need really depends on what you are doing. Videos take up more space than pictures do. So if you are just doing videos, you're going to need a couple of bigger SD cards. Bigger as in storage size. As actual physical size, they're all the same. Well, there's 2 versions. There's like a mini one, but this is the main standard size of an SD card. They're all this size. Just the storage capacity is different. So if you're doing videos, you need one that has a higher storage capacity. Most of the ones that I use are 64. I have a bunch of 128. This is because, again, I do mostly videos. Pictures, you can still have one of these, but the pictures take up less space. So one picture takes less space than one video. So if you're just practicing around or you're just doing pictures, you can start off with maybe like a 16 or an 8. I will say though that the smaller it is, the faster it will fill up. And of course, the bigger ones are more expensive than the smaller ones. But my advice again would be to go to Amazon. Amazon actually pretty good for equipment, and you can get deals. Like sometimes they have package deals where you get like two 32s for such and such price or whatever have you. In my experience, the brand of the SD card doesn't really matter. And I have used like movie cameras. I've used 4K cameras. Like I'm filming on now, except it's not in 4K because I didn't feel like doing all that. But I have used 1080p cameras, and I look for the storage size that I am going for, and then I look for the best price wherever I can get it. Walmart sells SD cards. Walgreens sells SD cards. CVS does. Target does. I've seen them in random gas stations. I would not buy one from a gas station, but if you're just in a pinch, it's there. Again, Amazon, if you plan ahead, you can get these most anywhere. Best Buy, any electronic store. But again, stores like Best Buy are like actual electronic stores, so they're probably going to be more expensive unless they're having a sale at Best Buy. You can go to Walmart and get the same capacity and spend less money. So just be aware of that. But again, as far as the brand goes, it's totally fine. Now, when you start going into things like 4K, there are certain types of SD cards that you'll need to get into. It will still record on any brand, but 4K is a lot more space than even like regular video. So once you get a 4K camera, if that's what you want to do, you don't have to. But once you do get a 4K video camera, if that's what you want to do, I would look up like the best SD card for that specific camera. But if it's not 4K, you can pretty much get whatever you want. Also with that, I would say make sure you have more than one. Especially if you're doing this professionally or you're trying to get into doing it professionally, have more than one. It is a hassle to bring like your laptop or whatever and dump your SD card, which means take all the information off your SD card, and then you got to put it back in your camera and then format it. Formatting is another option in your camera. It just means that it gets rid of all of the trash, the background trash, so that you can have full capacity of this once you have put whatever images or videos you have captured on another device. Have a bunch of these. Just have a bunch of these. You can never have too many, in my opinion. On Amazon, there are cases. I actually have a hard case, and I meant to bring it up here, but it's not up here. But I have a hard case. It's black and red, and it snaps open and snaps shut, and it's actually waterproof. And so if I spill it or get in the rain or something, all my SD cards that are inside of it will not get damaged. There are some that are material made. All those are great. I've had those before. It's just the hard cases work better for me because they're waterproof, and actually the one I have is shockproof also. So there's a lot of different options for that too. So if you get more than, honestly, I would say if you get two or more, it's just good to have somewhere to keep your equipment so that it stays safe and you always know where it is. You always have a place to put it, and it doesn't get broken as fast. It might get broken. So that's my other tip. My last tip is when you are buying a camera, to make sure you research it, and wherever on Google, on Amazon, or wherever, but then go on Amazon and look for whatever camera you decide. Look for a kit, meaning Amazon sells the camera body with a lens. You will come out much, much better money-wise if you get a kit. This lens did not come with this. I bought this lens separately, but the lens that came with this, if I was to buy it separately, it probably would have been, I want to say about $500 more. I'm not going to say which lens you should get. I'm just saying get a kit where it has the camera body, which is this part, and then the lens. That way, when you get it in the mail, you can just go for it. The other reason why I like kits is because a lot of the time it comes with other things. You might get an SD card or two. You might get a battery. You'll get a charger with that battery. There are some that come with little lights that go, like this is called a hot shoe. You'll get a little light that goes on a hot shoe, so you can, start building up your lighting. I don't know what I was going to say. Your lighting stash. There we go. There's what it was. So you get a lot more bang for your buck. I always point everybody to Amazon. To my knowledge, there are other companies that are doing the kits, but to my knowledge and in my opinion, Amazon gets the best bang for your buck as far as getting the camera body, a lens, and a bunch of other things that you're probably going to need. So do that. Find out which camera you want, watch videos on YouTube, watch, reviews and all that different type of stuff, and then search for it on Amazon, and you'll see it, because the picture, it will look like a lot of stuff. You'll see a camera, you'll see a lens, and you'll see a bunch of whole other stuff. So you'll see what a kit is. So that is my last tip. Okay, that being said, that is the end of this episode. I hope this helped. Again, I'm going to have a link in the description bar or the show notes, wherever you're listening or watching this, where there is going to be a full class that I have available with some more DSLR tips that can help you as you're getting started or going through or wherever you are. As a refresher, it will definitely help you. So check that out. But again, thank you for tuning into the Everybody Eats podcast. Remember, it's the podcast for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur. We talk about the tips, the trials, and the technology of the entrepreneurial journey. So make sure you like, subscribe, tune in. If you have any questions, let me know. I would love to answer them. There's going to be a Q&A episode coming up in a couple of weeks. So any questions you have about camera or photo equipment, let me know. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you later. See you next week. Bye.